Hi, I'm Julia Kelly, and I'm reporting for PHS's Speech and Debate class, and I'm here to talk about electronic cigarette use by teenagers. Electronic cigarettes, or e-cigarettes as they're known, were invented to be a substitute for conventional cigarettes. These new devices allow adults to kick the habit of smoking and improve their health. E-cigarettes don't release many of the toxins found in the smoke of regular cigarettes like tar, carbon monoxide, or hydrogen cyanide. Vaping, smoking using these new cigarettes, is the newest trend in the smoking world. Electronic cigarettes have become increasingly popular among celebrities today. According to the Huffington Post, stars like Leonardo DiCaprio, Katherine Heigl, and Jennifer J. Wow Farley are only few of the many celebrities following this new trend. But are these tech-savvy celebs sending teens the wrong message about this new form of smoking? I interviewed PHS students to determine what they knew about e-cigs and what an electronic cigarette is.
I believe it is a water vaporized cigarette.
I do know what an electronic cigarette is.
Do you know what they do?
It's
how
like
they work?
water vapor, and people use them when they're trying to quit, like using regular tobacco, and they come in a lot of flavors like blue raspberry.
E-cig is what people use in place of a regular cigarette that they say is better for you, and yeah.
It's a cigarette, but it's just electronic.
An electronic cigarette is a cigarette that is charged and you smoke it and it has a bit of nicotine in it, but not too much.
It's a cigarette that you smoke, but it's electronic, I think.
A cigarette with no nicotine or smoke. It's a portable, on-the-go way to smoke without disturbing others.
Yeah,
What is it?
it's like for people that want to quit smoking, and so they do that instead of like the nicotine.
Not really. I think it's just something that they can charge and then bring in and smoke, and it like helps them to stop smoking.
It's a water vapor cigarette. Yeah, it's like a cigarette, but it's instead of like tobacco and stuff, it's water vapor.
Studies have shown that the use of electronic cigarettes is becoming alarmingly common amongst middle and high school students. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, have reported that the use of electronic cigarettes among high school students has more than doubled in the past few years, rising from 4.7% in 2011 to 10% in 2012. When interviewed by a Huffington Post reporter, Dr. Tom Frieden, the director of the CDC, gave his opinion on the increased use of electronic cigarettes among teens. He is quoted saying, "The increased use of e-cigarettes by teens is deeply troubling. Nicotine is a highly addictive drug. Many of teens who start with e-cigarettes may be condemned to struggling with lifelong addiction to nicotine and conventional cigarettes." The CDC's reports showed that Frieden was right to worry. 76.3% of middle and high school students that tried electronic cigarettes also ended up trying real cigarettes. Here at PHS, I discovered that some students use electronic cigarettes on the school grounds and on school-funded buses. Do you know anyone who uses them?
I have seen people use them, yes.
Where?
Actually, I have seen people use them in the school.
I do know people use them.
Do you know where they use them?
Everywhere, because they're trying to quit smoking.
I know that I've seen other students use them
Where?
on like a bus or like in the back of a classroom.
I do know
Students.
people on my bus who use them, but I'm not really associated with them.
I do.
Do you know where they use them?
The bathroom.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Do you know where they use them?
Outside school mostly. Yeah, not
So
here.
they don't use them here?
No, that's good to hear.
I think one of my uncles uses it.
Yeah, but I'm not really sure I should say their name.
Yeah, you don't
I
need
just
to
know
say names.
one person though.
Okay. And do you know where they use them? In school, out of school?
Actually, yeah, it was like freshman year. He like had it in school. I don't think he ever brought it back in again though, but it was weird.
They're not my friends. No one personally, but I've heard of people using them.
In school?
in school.
Yes, on the bus
And on
field
buses.
trips.
Overall, I found that at PHS, the issues with electronic cigarette use by students isn't as drastic as it could be. However, we should probably investigate these cases with electronic cigarettes to make sure that all and any incidents will be put to an end.
Touted as a safer alternative to traditional smoking, electronic cigarettes are supposed to give smokers their nicotine fix without the cancer-causing side effects of tobacco. But tonight, Arlinda Hurtado says some have serious concerns. These battery-operated devices may actually pose more dangers to users.
Florida banned smoking in most public places more than 8 years ago.
They were like my dearest friend.
But some 40 years after, Gwen Cheshire started lighting up.
In 1965, everybody smoked. It was an acceptable thing to do back then.
At her worst, Cheshire was puffing a pack a day, and eventually she tried to stop.
I tried the gum, gave me a stomach ache, tried the patch, and it made my heart beat too fast.
So when her son recently suggested this,
just inhale like you would a cigarette.
Gwen signed up and started what's widely known as vaping.
It looks like smoke, but it's not smoke, it's water vapor.
Called e-cigarettes. It's battery operated, has the look and feel of a traditional cigarette without the smell, the smoke, and the harmful side effects, say its supporters.
I was impressed.
Then her doctor weighed in.
He was like, no way, you can't use those.
People are inhaling some type of chemical vaporized compound into their lungs without really knowing what's in it.
Last year, the American Lung Association issued its own warning about e-cigarettes.
This is a buyer stay away, a buyer health hazard, potentially.
There's really no information about whether they're safe or not, and that's part of the problem.
Dr. Robert Green treats lung cancer patients at the Palm Beach Cancer Institute. He says with no real data on e-cigarettes, this 3-year-old tobacco alternative may actually be more harmful than traditional cigarettes.
Unfortunately, the Food and Drug Administration, or the FDA, has yet to extend its regulatory authority over tobacco products to include e-cigarettes. Matthew Myers, the president of the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, told the Washington Post that the FDA needs to act, and act quickly, to get a handle on both the product and its marketing. The director of the FDA's Center for Tobacco Products says that they plan on asserting their authority over e-cigarettes in the future in order to determine how safe or unsafe they are and to make sure that they actually help users quit smoking as opposed to causing them to try real tobacco products instead. With these results in mind, I interviewed one of our assistant principals, Ms. Brust, on the subject. So this is Ms. Brust, one of our assistant vice principals, and I'm going to be asking her a few questions on e-cigarettes. So how many incidents of students using e-cigarettes on school grounds were there last year?
In regards to actually using cigarettes, I can't remember anybody having one and smoking. Maybe once or twice we heard reports of that, but sometimes we find the e-cigarette cartridges when sometimes students have those and are carrying those, and that's prohibited here at school as well.
It is. And do you know what the punishment for students who are caught with them are?
Yes, the punishment for having e-cigarettes is the same as having a regular cigarette.
So they treated the same?
We treat it the same. We don't differentiate between different types of tobacco products.
Okay. And do you think that the punishment should be lighter, harder?
No, I think it needs to be the same. Right now, the current research on e-cigarettes, although they're being marketed as a tool to end smoking, there's no real research that supports that. And I'm kind of concerned that young people are buying into that as a method for quitting cigarette smoking. I'm not exactly sure that it's effective.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that e-cigarettes could be helpful if you were trying to quit, or do you think they're just prolonging addiction?
Well, I think it's very different for every person, and I don't know that they exactly know why anybody's able to stop an addiction. So I think in some cases, perhaps they are helpful, but in some of the studies that they've done, anecdotally they're saying that they've been helpful, but in some of the smaller studies that they've done, and they haven't been around long enough for some longitudinal studies, they are not linking beating an addiction with the use of e-cigarettes.
So they're not really helping?
As far as some of the research says, but some people are reporting that it's been helpful to them. So I would say, if you're addicted to cigarettes, of course you would probably want to try anything to try to break that addiction. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, it's neither one of those things can really happen at school.
Thank you. Overall, I found that at PHS, the issues with electronic cigarette use by students isn't as drastic as it could be. However, we should probably investigate these cases with electronic cigarettes to make sure that all and any incidents will be put to an end.